We've got a lot of code in here that we're doing to manage the state of our promise here when we fetch this Pokemon, but we don't need to do lots of this stuff. So we have a pending state, we have an error state, we have a success state. Yeah, none of that stuff we really need to deal with because all of this stuff is going to be managed for us automatically by React. So we can use the React suspense boundary for the pending state, an error boundary for the error state, and then we just render what the success state is inside of our component. That's all we need to really worry about. So the first thing that I need to do though is I need to create a Pokemon resource when the user makes their selection. And so, well, when the user makes their selection, so that's when the Pokemon name changes, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and say React use effect. And when that Pokemon name changes, then we can say if there isn't a Pokemon name, then we can just do nothing. Otherwise, let's go ahead and create a resource. So we'll say create resource, and let's go ahead and grab that. Let's get up here to the top. We'll import create resource from utils. And it looks like while I'm up here, I need this Pokemon error boundary as well. So we'll just grab that. And we've got our fetch Pokemon right here. In fact, we're just using it right there. So I'm just going to copy this, bring it down here when we're creating a resource. And this is our Pokemon resource, but we need to manage that somehow. And so we're going to add a use state for our Pokemon resource. We'll set Pokemon resource. We'll initialize this to null. And then we'll just say set Pokemon resource to that create resource. Now, if there's no Pokemon name, maybe they cleared it out or something, then we should go ahead and set that to null. That way we clear out that Pokemon resource state. Great. So then let's go ahead and talk about the loading state and error state that we are going to be managing declaratively with the React suspense boundary and our Pokemon error boundary. So if we come up here, we've got our pending state. This is the Pokemon info fallback. Okay, so that's going to be the fallback of our React suspense boundary. So let me just copy that and we'll bring it down here. React suspense, put that in there, and then we'll say our fallback is that same thing. So that's a pretty nice refactor there. And one thing that I'll just note here that I think is pretty cool is that now that we have the suspense boundary, this same fallback will be provided whether the Pokemon info is being lazily loaded or if it's suspending to get this Pokemon resource, which I think is pretty cool. So that takes care of our pending state. Let's go ahead and just get rid of that. And then here we have our error state right here. That's going to be our error boundary. And this is actually the same thing that the Pokemon error boundary renders. So I'm just going to delete this and we're going to wrap all of this inside our Pokemon error boundary. Let's just clean this up a little bit. Okay, so we'll say Pokemon error boundary right here. Wrap all that in there. And there's actually a feature inside of the Pokemon error boundary. I gave it to you as like a little mini extra credit here. But if we wanted to recover from any error that happens inside of this Pokemon info, then the user is going to be provided with some try again button or something. And when they click that, we're going to have an on reset that's called here. And we'll have a handle reset. And I'll just make that function right up here. And all that's going to do is set our Pokemon name to an empty string. And then that'll trigger the set Pokemon resource to null here. And the user will be able to try again. Another little feature we could add here is if the user just clears out the Pokemon resource themselves, then we can say reset keys Pokemon resource. And that way the Pokemon error boundary will just reset itself to a happy state in the event the user changes the Pokemon resource. And actually, while I'm talking about it, let's go ahead and only render this if the Pokemon resource is available, not if the Pokemon name is available, because we actually don't care about the Pokemon name anymore. We're going to pass the Pokemon resource to that Pokemon info. And so let's come up here, we'll take that Pokemon info, and yeah, all of this state stuff is being managed by React for us now. The entire use effect, that's all being managed by our create resource stuff. We don't have a success status anymore because if this component is rendered, we know it was successful. And then from here, all we've got to do now is take that Pokemon resource, called the read method on it, and that's going to get us our Pokemon. And we'll know that if we continue down here, we actually did have that Pokemon. And so we can just read things off of it and assume that we'll have that Pokemon already loaded, thanks to the beautiful API that we have from Suspense. So let's go ahead and save that and hope that it works. So I'm going to click on Pikachu, Pikachu's loading beautifully. We've got Charizard and Mew. Things are looking stellar. And if we have some sort of error, then we get that error message right there. We can click try again and everything gets reset. So we're in a pretty solid situation. In review, most of what we did was take the stuff that was in Pokemon Info for managing that loading state and move it out into more declarative APIs using an error boundary and React Suspense. Our error boundary is a pretty lightweight abstraction on top of React Error Boundary, that NPM package, and that supports the onReset and reset keys props, which are pretty handy for recovering from errors. We're using React Suspense directly and rendering this fallback for our pending state, and then this Pokemon Info component just manages the resolved state. And all we did to make this work is have to manage this Pokemon resource, and when the user submits a new Pokemon that triggers a re-render, our effect is tracking that Pokemon name, and if that Pokemon name is not falsy, then we'll create a resource with the promise that we get back from fetch Pokemon with that Pokemon name. Now, one last thing I want to do here, because we're going to be abstracting this a little bit here in the very near future, is I'm going to have create Pokemon resource with the Pokemon name. And I'll just make that function right up here, create Pokemon resource. That'll take the Pokemon name and we'll return create resource. Just a little mini refactor there so that we can add some more functionality to this create Pokemon resource function.